Hi, this is Katie from the Floral Feather Fiber Art and Design Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cute and really easy beginner-friendly macrame purse. Let's get started. So to get started, you're going to need purse handles. These are handles that I got from Handy Knots. You're going to need 40 pieces of 7-foot long macrame cord. This particular cord is a 5mm braided cord that I got from Macrame. It's Bobbiny's brand. This is the color Laurel. And then you're also going to need 10 pieces of cord that's 2 feet long, but we're going to keep those to the side for later. So first what we're going to do is we are going to attach 12 pieces of cord to the handle. So I'm going to take one piece of cord, I'm going to fold it in half, and that's going to create a loop at the top. I'm going to take that loop, I'm going to put it over through the front of the handle, I'm going to take the ends, and I'm going to pull it through the loop. Just like so. I'm going to take another piece of cord, fold it in half, make sure the ends are nice and even. Put it through the handle, ends through that loop, and pull. And again. Okay, so now I have my cords attached. Now we're going to get knotting. So the pattern of this purse is called a alternating square knot pattern. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to make a row of square knots, and they're going to hug the curvature of this handle. So I'm going to start with the first 4 cords. I'm going to take the cord on the left and the cord on the right. These are going to be my working cords. These 2 cords in the middle are my filler cords. So I'm going to take the cord on the left, it's going to make a 4, and then I'm going to take this cord on the right, it's going to go over the tail of this 4, and I'm going to bring it behind the 2 cords in the middle through that loop, and then I'm going to pull it up nice and snug to the top. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So I'm going to take this right cord, bring the tail over the 2 cords in the middle. This left cord is going to go over that tail. The tail of this left cord is going to go behind 2 cords in the middle and through this loop. Pull it through, then pull up, nice and snug, and you've created your square knot. We're going to make another one over here. So I'm going to take the next 4 cords. I've got the cord on the left, the cord on the right. We're going to always start our square knots with the cord on the left. So I'm going to take that, it's going to make the shape of a 4. I'm going to take that right cord over the tail, and then the tail of the right cord is going to go behind the 2 cords in the middle, pull through, and then pull the sides up nice and snug. We're going to repeat that again now with the right cord. So right cord, tail goes over the 2 in the middle. This cord on the left is going over that tail, behind, pull through, and up. And we're going to keep on going all the way around. So now we have our square knots, our first row of square knots, I should say, going around the base of the purse handle here. This is an alternating square knot pattern, so what that means is our next row of square knots is going to be in between the square knots that we just created. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave these left 2 cords out, and I'm going to create a square knot with the next 4 cords. So 2 from this left square knot and 2 from this right square knot here. Okay, so then we're going to have the 2 cords in the middle, and we're going to do the same thing. Left cord over, right cord over, and then behind. Up. Okay, so now we're going to create our next row of square knots. But what we're going to do, we're going to start adding cord so we can make our purse wider. So I'm going to take these 2 cords here from the first square knot, and I'm going to take another piece of cord, and we're going to create a lark's head knot right here. So again, take this new piece of cord, bring the ends together to fold the cord in half. This loop that we created goes over the 2 cords here, and the tails go through the center. We're going to attach it nice and tight, or snug rather, right there. And so it's going to kind of be at an angle with the square knot to the right of it from the alternating row, the second row. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So another piece of cord, fold in half. I'm going to take the cord out a little bit and create that lark's head knot. Okay. And then you can see how there's a little bit of space here and how we're going to be basically evening out the rows as we go down. So now I'm going to create another row of square knots. So I'm going to take the 2 cords from the piece that I just added, and then 2 cords from the square knot of the second row. And I'm going to make another square knot. Might need a little bit of adjusting. Okay, and the last square knot here. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to repeat the same process. We're actually adding a total of 4 new cords on each side. So again, grab another piece of cord, fold in half, and attach to the 2 cords to the outside. And then do the same thing to the other side. Okay, and now we're going to do another row of square knots. And we're always going to start with the 2 cords that we just added. Okay, and we're going to do it again. So grab another cord. And attach to the left side. And another one. And attach to the right side. And another row of square knots. And you can see as we start to work our way down that the square knot pattern is kind of evening itself out. It's not a big curve like it is towards the handle. And after each row, I just kind of tug just to make sure that everything's even and adjust what needs to be adjusted. Okay, now we're just going to add one more cord to each side. Okay, and one more row of square knots. Okay, and now we're just going to finish this off by adding one more row of square knots, and this time we're going to be including the outside pieces. Okay. So now we've completed the top part of the first side of our purse. So now I am going to grab the other handle and I am going to be attaching 12 pieces of cord via lark's head knot to the other handle. Okay, so I've grabbed my other purse handle and I've attached 12 cords with a lark's head knot. And now I am going to do the same exact process that I did on the other handle. So we're going to be making an alternating square knot pattern. We're going to be adding 4 cords to each side on the 2 outside pieces of cord. And let's get going. Okay, so now I have both sides of my purse completed, the top portion. So I'm going to be attaching both sides together. But before I do that, I'm going to take this piece right here and I'm going to turn it around. And I'm going to hang it back up because this is the inside of the purse. And then I'm going to hang this one right in front of it. And you want the lark's head knots facing out, so that way, I'll show you. So both sides, the knots are facing the right direction. Okay, so first what we're going to do is I am going to attach a square knot to the side here. So I'm actually going to turn the purse out so that way you can see it. So I'm going to take the 2 pieces of cord from the middle that are joining the purse together, and these are going to become my filler cords. So then I'm going to take the next cord to the left and the next cord to the right, and these are my working cords. And so I'm going to make a square knot. Just like so. Okay, that's one side. And actually, normally I just do it to the other side, but I'm going to flip it so that way you can see what I'm doing. So again, these 2 cords at the very center are the filler cords. Cord to the left and the cord to the right. And another square knot. And I'm standing like this so you can see, but normally I'm standing right in front of the camera making the square knot. That way it's just easier for me to do. And there we go. So now our purse is joined. And now we're just going to make another series of square knots. And this row of square knots that we just created are in line with the square knots that are on the sides. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the alternating pattern, and this time we are going to be including the square knot from the side. So I'm going to start here on the left, and I'm going to take the left 2 cords here, which are from my side square knot, and then these 2 cords right here. And I'm going to make my square knot. But I don't want to pull this side square knot to the front. So I'm just going to pay attention to that as I make my knot. Okay, now I'm to the end of the row. So I'm going to grab the 2 left cords from the square knot to the side and these right 2 cords from the square knot. And again, just make sure that you're not pulling the square knot on the side to the front. Because this is going to go, we're going to have a series of square knots down the sides of the purse. Okay, so now I did 2 rows of square knots here. I am going to flip my purse over, and I'm going to do the same thing, 2 rows of square knots. Okay, so now that we've finished the other side, we are going to do the same thing where we go to the side here, and we are going to make a square knot on the side of our purse. And I'm just going to flip it to do the other side so that way you can see. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to do a row of square knots. Okay, and now with this next row of square knots, we're going to be adjusting the pattern just a little bit. So it's going to be a row of square knots, except it's a double square knot, which just means 2 square knots in a row. So again, don't forget with this next row, we're taking the 2 cords from the square knot that's on the side of our purse. But as we make that square knot on the front, we're just careful that we're not going to pull the square knot to the front. Okay, so there's our first square knot. Now we're just going to make 1 more. And same thing with the next square knot here, we're going to make 2. And again. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my purse around And I'm going to do the same exact thing to the other side. Okay, so now that we have the other side completed, I'm going to be making a square knot on each side of the purse here. That's so you can see. Okay, I'm going to turn my purse so that way you can see the other side. So I'm going to be adding 4 rows of square knots to each side. I'm going to be speeding it up for the sake of time, but I think you have the gist of what we're doing right now. Okay, so now that we have our 4 rows of square knots on each side, we're going to do a row of square knots and then we're going to do our double pattern. So first what I'm going to do is make the square knot on the side of the purse. That side. And again, I flip it so you can see. Okay, so now we're going to do a row of square knots. Okay, and now our double pattern. So 1 square knot and 2. And another. And we'll be adding these double knots all the way down. Okay, now I'm going to flip my purse and I'm going to do the same exact thing to the other side. Okay, so now that we've finished the double knots, we're going to be finishing off the purse basically. So we're going to be making 6 rows of square knots on each side, and then we will be finishing off the purse with tassels. So first, just to recap, what we do is, well, here I'm going to be starting with adding a square knot on each side, then we make a row, another row, flip it, 2 more rows on the other side, and then the square knots on the side. So I'm going to get it started for you so that way you can just have that recap of how we do it. And then I'll be speeding up the filming for the sake of time. So square knot on this side, and I'm not going to flip it to show you, but I'm going to make another square knot on this side. This is how I normally do it. I normally just do a square knot on either side and then make my rows. Okay, so the first row of square knots. Okay, now my second row. Okay, so here's my 2 rows of square knots, so I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to do 2 more. Then I'm going to connect the sides, do 2 more, flip it, and do this process so that way I then have 6 rows of square knots on each side. I'm going to be speeding up the recording time for the sake of time. Okay, so I've completed this 6 rows of square knots on both sides of the purse. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the purse by adding some tassels. So in order to do that, I'm going to grab a square knot from this side of the purse and grab the square knot that is directly in line with it on the other side. And I'm going to hold them together. And I'm going to grab one of my 2-foot pieces of cord that I cut earlier, and I'm going to create what's called a gathering knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top part of this cord and I'm going to lay it just above the square knot here. And I'm going to take that cord and bring it up. Hold it here so I can show you. So that way I'm creating a loop here. Now I'm going to take my hand and I am going to hold all of the cords together. And I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to wrap it around. And I like to go around 5 times. So now I have my loop that's sticking out here, and I'm going to take that tail and I'm going to put it through the loop. And now I'm going to take this top piece of cord and I'm going to pull up. You see that loop is getting shorter, and we're going to pull it up halfway into the knot. Now I'm left with long ends here, and I'm going to pull really tight both ends of the cord. And the tighter I pull, the more secure that gathering knot. So now that it's complete and nice and secure, I'm going to cut off this top piece as close to the knot as I can get. All right, let's do it again. So I'm going to take the next square knot in line here, and I am going to grab the square knot that's directly on the other side. I'm going to take a piece of my 2-foot cord. I'm going to take the top end, lay it just above the knot here, hold it with my thumb, create a loop by pulling the bottom of the cord up, hold it all together, and wrap around 5 times. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, bring that tail around. We've got that loop here. Put the tail through the loop. Pull up the top cord and bring that loop up about halfway through the knot. Take both ends and pull really, really tight. And then we're going to snip that top cord off. So now we're going to go down the row here and we're going to do the same exact process for the rest of the knots. Okay, so now we have all the gathering knots attached, and all we have left to do is just cut the length of our tassels. So I personally like a shorter tassel, but this part is completely up to you, and you can cut the tassel at the length you'd like. So what I do, I just eyeball it. If you want to measure and be precise and use a ruler, that's fine too. I want my tassel to be like 2.5 to 3 inches. So this looks good right here. So I'm going to cut that off. And I'm just going to use this tassel as my guide for this next one. There you go. And I'm just going to cut down the line. And try not to pull on the cord as you do this, because if you pull the cord and then you let go each time, you're gonna get tassels at an angle. So I just hold the cord gently, and it's because this braided cord has some stretch to it. That being said, you also have to be careful when you're measuring it, because if you pull too much, you might mismeasure. Okay, actually, and then I do some trimming like so. All right, up there. All right. And there you have it, your macrame purse.